Welcome back, everybody. This is another special episode. I feel like I say that every week, but this one is really special. I sat down with Michael Huynh and Bryan Lowman, two veterans in the fashion game. Michael is actually the founder of Publish, and Bryan has spent years with Stussy and Undefeated. Now they're building something new together, Students Golf. And I had been talking about this brand for a minute now, and I actually met these two for the first time in Paris last summer for their field trip to Paris between students and Bodega. It's going to be one of those core memories for a minute now, but in this episode, we talked about the evolution of streetwear, the identity of Students Golf, and what it means to build a brand that speaks to a new generation. We get into lookbooks, knitwear, collaborations, and why emotion drives their best design. If you care about golf or fashion or the space in between, this one's for you. Let's get into it. When did you guys actually meet?
Actually meet. That was we knew of each other because we were both in the industry for so long.
Yeah.
So we have tons of mutual friends, but a legit meeting wasn't until Michael came to me right after he had launched Students. And he's like, yo, I heard you're a free agent. And we got connected through a friend of ours, Ben Will, a guy that I worked with at Stussy for almost 20 years. And he was like, yo, Michael's starting this golf thing. I know you've always been a golfer. You guys should chat. And that's kind of how it all came to fruition, right?
Yeah. You might have ignored me too, because I thought you're probably thinking well, why do I need to get to know another golfer? I have plenty of golfer friends.
It's true.
So.
It's true. There actually was a few text exchanges, and I was I didn't know what he was getting at. It was does he just need a fourth, or is he just getting into golf? Is he trying to find his community, whatever? So, but no, thankfully we finally went and sat down and had a conversation, and I was pretty much sold right away. He was a lot further along than I thought he would be, but knew that I would have some input with the knowledge that I had, and he seemed very receptive to that, and it was a go since day one, and it's good.
It was very okay.
What year was that?
It'll be 3 years in July.
22?
Yeah, I think it'll be 3 years in July for me. Yeah, because I was out of Stussy. My last year was 21, so the beginning of 22 was when I became a free agent, and it was so that July, I took a little bit of time off in between just to kind of figure out what the next move is, and then I think July was right around July 4th was when I started, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
we've been off and running since.
That's so wild. Did you guys ever try to backtrack to see if you guys ever bumped into each other across projects, or just from an industry perspective? Just because golf is so much smaller now than I think people realize in terms of who's behind the scenes running a lot of these brands. And I've even had conversations with a Jordan Rogers who used to work at Nike. There's a photo that I have of him and I in the same room, but up until that point, we didn't even know each other until just these last 2 years.
I mean, through the years of me being in the fashion industry for almost over 2 decades now, I've seen Bryan at the trade shows many times, but Stussy, I don't know if you ever got a chance to go, but Stussy has always had a closed off booth, and so no one could ever enter, and so I could never catch the right time for me to be formally introduced or talk to him at all. But we for sure have ran across each other many times during the course of just being at trade shows, at least twice a year for almost 2 decades. I mean, dude, for sure, but I mean, quite honestly, I wasn't in golf at the time, and for sure, I did not think that Bryan was in golf at the time as well, too. It's just it's just one of those things where it just serendipity. It's just happening, So
at the time, when we probably met, even though we didn't really know that we had met, just being in the same room, same parties, whatever, golf was not a thing that you were
it wasn't even a topic.
You weren't flying that flag. I was the closeted golfer for so long, and then you would kind of you would hear someone drop a nugget of yo, I'm here, and you hear a golf course. It's oh hey, and then you talk on the side, but it wasn't anything that anyone was leading with. And then it's almost fast forward to COVID, and that's when kind of everybody had their either coming out party or found the game, and then this whole kind of community and ecosystem started to boom, and that's where I actually have a funny moment with Justin Eldridge, number 33. Like, I was playing at a golf charity tournament, and they had just launched the T-Picks, and he had a tent on one of the holes, and I pull up and I was like, yo, that looks like Eldridge. And I hadn't seen him in forever, and he used to skate for Stussy back in the day.
Oh, that's wild. I didn't realize that.
Eldridge. And he's like, Lowman, like, what are you doing here? I'm like, what are you doing here? And it was like the golf.
Why are you golfing?
Like, holy shit. Like, and like now, you know, it's both of our things. And like, it was a cool moment of like intersecting like the past and the current and now into the future of like, this is what we all think about, is we're all fanatics about golf and fashion and all this stuff. So it was definitely a cool moment.
It's insane. Yeah. I mean, the seasons of life, especially now, because this is the way that we all got connected, and we've all been doing things for literally years to that point. Like, you guys have been with Publish and Stussy and Undefeated and whatnot. Like, you guys have been in it, the thick of it from a streetwear perspective. How do you guys actually define streetwear? Just knowing that term and like philosophy has kind of been like tossed around a lot, especially in golf, which is really interesting. Michael, if you want to go first.
I mean, like, what is streetwear, right? Like there are so many streetwear has gone through like so many like evolution of just like with art and skate, you know. And to be honest, like, it really like resonated with skate first, right? My first interpretation of what like so-called streetwear was like, I mean, at the time, like, it was like really urban heavy, right? You had like Fat Farm and Nietzsche, Averex, and all that stuff, and all of a sudden, like, here comes this new wave of like these juxtaposition of like so-called like urban skatewear brands, right? Just popped up, and like, what is this? Like, I don't fully understand. And as I got more and more into it, it's like, these are the guys that are on the sideline that actually have like this alternative perspective, this new understanding of like where culture and art and fashion was heading into. And just over the years, it just kind of got mainstream a little bit more, you know. But I mean, streetwear has gone through so many different variations of what it is now today. And, you know, obviously, like with Virgil, like leading the pack and into high end, and now it's like the contemporary high end world is like interpreting streetwear way different from what we interpreted streetwear like 20 years ago, you know. So I mean, it's rad, and I think that what makes kind of students golf like unique is like we perceive the game like way differently, and we're bringing a lot of our external cultures and sensibilities into the game. And how we understand is like, before, like, it was like, you know, a game known for like their upper echelon or people who had money and stuff like that. But like how we interpret the game, and like, you don't have to have money, you can still play the game like just through a different lens, you know. So yeah, like, and like seeing like streetwear infiltrating and like really like kind of like adding our own like sauce to the game of golf, like, it's really exciting to see all that stuff go down.
What about you, Bryan? Because I know like Stussy has always been so connected to that term.
Yeah, it was a weird one. Like, just rewinding back to Stussy, like, internally we would talk about like the term streetwear, and, you know, like, a lot of people coin Stussy as like the king of streetwear, and it was always kind of a slippery slope, because, like, to your point, like, what is streetwear, right? Like, before that, there was surf, skate, urban. There was these different things. You would go to the magic show, and they had like these big categories, and then streetwear became like kind of a melting pot of all of those things. And ultimately, like, it's just a term to where, like, with surf, like, surf is like an actual thing, right? Like, surf is never going to go away. It's going to have its popular times and its unpopular times. Same with skating, that sort of thing. So it's like, do we, like, at Stussy, are we attaching ourselves to the term streetwear? You know, like we never really wanted to, because it's like, what is it? You know, it's something that could come and go. It's literally just a term, right? So yeah, like it is just a melting pot of all of those things, be it art, music, fashion, surfing, skateboarding, all those things, subcultures, all kind of in the pot together, and that becomes streetwear. And now you can even add like golf into the fold. like throwing that into it, and it's like, hey man, like these are things that we're into along with the other things that are part of the ingredients of the term streetwear.
Streetwear is a very hard word to like truly define. Like at the end of it, I think it's just like an alternative feeling, an alternative perspective, an alternative way of thinking of like a certain genre, right? It's like we're doing something completely different, whether it be even, I mean, I don't know if this is a good example or not, but even in surf, like could there be like a streetwear version of surf, right? It's like just like a different mentality on how they perceive like the genre, right? So, but it's a very hard word to define, especially how skewed it is these days with like mainstream like hitting it and like utilizing it and skewing the word too. So to me, it's just like an alternative way of like perceiving a genre or a subject, So.
And then I think within streetwear too, it's a community that like embraces people to be different and to really like express themselves and not feel restricted in certain ways, and like that's something like in golf, like when we started Students, like we were very intentional of like, we don't want to be painted in the corner of like being this golf brand, right? And that's where you saw a lot of like the streetwear DNA of the brand that was forward facing in the beginning, and that's just because like they're within golf, like everyone was so conditioned to be like, hey, you need to fit within this mold, and it's still very much like that. But thankfully, like there are brands now that are pushing those boundaries and now opening it up to a community of people that are leaning into it, saying like, hey, this is cool, this is different, this is what I identify with, which is awesome, for us, because obviously like the whole streetwear side of it is like our wheelhouse, and like getting into like more on course performance stuff is like where we can explore new things in a different type of space, but still try to keep the DNA that we already have in that mix.
No, that makes sense. And the way I've always looked at it too is streetwear and like style just in general has always been a self-expression thing. Like that's what you kind of had mentioned. Instead of being like, I'm trying to impress, it's more of I'm trying to express. And that comes off through a bunch of different ways, depending on which community you're attached to. And it's also interesting that you mentioned Stussy connecting itself to streetwear. It's very similar to Students connecting itself to golf. Like, do you guys feel like in the early stages, the idea of what Students was and is very unique to the space? Did you feel like you had to have like almost an alternative version of Students to get the initial like acceptance within the category in the space, with the idea and the hopes that eventually the actual vision of what you guys had could come to life in the future?
I mean, yeah, I mean, to be honest, like, I mean, if you look at if you strip away from all like the brands that are so-called like streetwear golf brands these days, right? If you strip that apart and you go back and looking at the original or like the current golf brands that are currently in the space right now, it's like they have like very strong DNAs in their own right, but it's very, very clean, right? You can't tell, let's just say, for example, you go to like a golf course and someone's wearing Peter Millar, right? Like, you don't know if they're like a realtor, a real estate guy, insurance guy, or what business they're in until you actually see their fit afterwards, right? And so with that being said, it's like, I knew that by coming into the golf space, like I couldn't, we would not be able to win if we were to look like them, right? We had to like look really, really like, we had to look like apart, right? And so the idea is like the last 3 years since the brand has been born, we spent a lot of our time on storytelling, and through storytelling, through art, and through community, and through the things that we do with our activations, whether it be events, community, and all that stuff. Like it's very different. It's something I have not seen in golf brands yet, and all that stuff is considered new, right? And so we spent the last 3 years really like storytelling through our art, through our visuals, and like people are always wondering like, why aren't you guys coming out with like golf clothes yet? Well, like you can still wear our stuff on the golf course currently, but our intent was that to express fully on like so-called a polo or the so-called fit, the proper fit to be on a golf course is very, very hard. It's not it's not an open form or an open canvas for you to truly paint, right? So we naturally just painted and gave our ideas through our form of what we know really well as a t-shirt, right? The t-shirt was kind of like our canvas. And so our inspiration has always been about taking feelings, taking emotions, and kind of put it into our artwork, right? For example, like a lot of our t-shirts are inspired by like R&B, love, punk rock, metal music, right? Like the idea of like, let's say in a love song by Fleetwood Mac, right? Or would it be a song by Boyz II Men, like End of the Road? If you take in the lyric, if you take that significant other, right? And if you take that significant other and you take it out and you apply it to your golf ball, whether it be your golf club, your putter, your driver, like one day it treats you so well, and the next day it just steals your heart away and it crushes you, and it's like that's the feeling motion we get. And so in golf, like I have not seen a brand take all these emotions where we get inspired by and put it actually in the art form. And to me, like Students has been able to do that, naturally because of our sheer background. Like we've been doing this streetwear world for a very long time, and I think like what we just got naturally, we understood a t-shirt more than anyone else, and so we just apply that into the so-called sport golf, and that's been kind of our lane. So, but yeah, like the last 3 years, we spent a lot of time on storytelling, and that's kind of like our frame and kind of our lens, our perspective of the game, So
yeah, and I think like when we launched, like we weren't intentionally trying to be like super different, and saying like, oh, we're a 180 from everybody else. Like it's just authentically being us and what we know. And we were hoping that naturally other people that were like-minded would gravitate towards like, oh, they're taking elements of streetwear and adding it into golf, like just enough to let people know like that you are a golfer without having to wear like the golf uniform, being like, oh, like that dude's like really a golfer. He's like straight up coming from the golf course. So like kind of a lot of the idea was like to take like the high school kids, at least around us, like we're seeing kids at the driving range at the local munis that are wearing Vans and Dickies, and like they surf and skate. It's not just like the country club kid that's like dressed like the 50-year-old man, like, and we always talk about how like golf as a whole is always talked about like growing the game, right? And they do it in good ways in terms of like, I feel like they do a good job like teaching the game to people, but from like an apparel standpoint, like even to this day, it's like, it's really for the younger demographic, it's just, they're force feeding them like a smaller version of what they sell their dad, right? So you see like these little kids, like, and it's like, man, that looks like a 50-year-old man, but that kid's 12, and like, they don't feel comfortable. So hopefully through Students and other brand, like Malbin and Metalwood and like all of our friends in this community, it's like they're finding that brand that they can identify with and say like, no, that's it. Like that's my community, and I rock with them.
No, that's an interesting point, because there is data that shows when a kid does get done in like youth golf, there's a huge drop off, and then there's a return later in their 30s. And I think to that point, there's not a lot of brands out there, whether it's fashion, event oriented, or even just like what's happening at the tour level. Like nobody was really serving audiences from that, call it 18 to 20 to 30-year-old gap, which is really interesting. And again, like if you don't have a community to tap into, you kind of just walk yourself out of it. Michael, when you mentioned win, in that conversation, like what did a win look like to you guys early on?
A win would be like someone that would see a design from us and just like instantly just resonate like with us right away, or whether it be not even like recognize myself as like the designer or Bryan as like one of the founders of the brand, not at all. It's just more about when they see the word, say example, like wedgition, right? Like we're like, if there's one thing that we're really good at, like we're really good with like coming up with like labels and names that ties well with golf, and like we're like like so-called like encyclopedia of like wordplay of golf, right?
Yep.
And the idea, like when we come with these concepts that are like that I get inspired by, and like I'm like, dude, like you know what? I'm gonna do this for myself, and because this is like how I'm like emotionally feeling about the game of golf at the time, right? And then like when it resonates with someone else, it's like, holy shit, there's actually more people out there that actually like connect to this, right? And I think the idea of students is very easy, dude. Like it's like, you know, being a student of the game, like when you go out to the golf course, it's like it doesn't matter what background you come from, whatever it is, it's like you understand the game as like what it is. Like there's humility in it. There's enjoyment in like shooting a bad round sometimes. Like there's all these conversation that sparks, right? And so when someone like sees like something that comes from us, and then we don't like brand our clothing that sees bold and say students, like we typically like would design around like a concept first and foremost, and then we whether it be like, you know, a design that says like bogey curse, right? And like the artwork is like from a sci-fi movie where instead of a bogeyman chases this girl that screams, ah, whatever it is, it's like it's the bogeyman coming after her, right? And it says bogey curse. And like things like that, when people see that, I'm like, and people like get drawn into that, I'm like, yo, like that's how you like build like a cult following. And I think that we're starting to kind of like gain traction from people that actually like understand that we're just not just a label, that there's actually a lot of like meaning and depth to the brand. And I think that's what makes students unique, you know? Like we're a lot deeper than just a label slapped on a garment and call it students. You know, there's actually a lot of ideologies that we bring to the table and stuff like that. And for the record too, Ray, like we've never been anti-country club at all, right? I'm a member at 3 country clubs, right? I understand tradition. I understand the heritage of the game. We've never been one to kind of break the rules in any way at all. I understand all that stuff. And I like dressing up when I go to like a nice course like Lakeside or whatever country club I decide to play at. I do dress nicer. But there's something about me that I wear that like makes it like, this guy has like a deeper understanding of the game of golf than just showing up wearing a polo shirt tucked in his pants and call it a day. I think the idea is just like, I see golf, it's such a clean canvas and there's so many things you can do to the game. It's just so clean. And I feel like by taking a lot of our upbringing, our roots, our experiences in the so-called like fashion streetwear world into the game of golf, I think that's like our interpretation, our perspective of the game of golf, you know? So
Yeah, I think again it just goes back to there's a bunch of different versions. Golf means something different more than it ever has before. And again, there's just a ton of opportunities for brands to go out there and serve and cater towards all these different communities that have popped up, even just in the last 5 to 10 years. And that I think from what caught my eye, like the design language is very unique to the space. It's very specific to students. Like you can catch it a mile away. When you guys were early off in collections and designing products, was there any specific details that you felt like you were honing in on? Like you talk about the graphic side of the tees. What about like fabrics and cuts and stuff to that nature?
I've always valued fit, specs, materials, fabrications, and all that stuff, and that's kind of always been kind of like the ground, like the groundwork for me before I actually even design anything, right? Like I through my years of just traveling overseas, visiting so many mills and fabric markets and fabric makers around the world, from Italy to like Bulgaria to France to somewhere even in Canada, even locally here as well too, at Tanner like leather goods, right? The idea is like I always look at like what I'm working with and like how and what can I make with this type of material that's given to me, right? And that's always been like my inspiration before I actually initiate my design ideas and stuff like that, and to me, I think students like me having like an art background, I the way art students think is like very untraditional, and the way we do the way we write our names to the way where we write our names, the way we label our artwork. It doesn't have to be at the bottom left corner all the time. It can be top left center or whatever it is, right? And so when you say like you can spot our design from like a mile away or whatever it is, like to some extent, I thought about that before coming into the marketplace. Is like, how do I make this T-shirt any different than what other guys are doing it, right? Even if we don't brand our name students across the board, big or on the back, whatever it is, it's like you look at the tee and you already know it's going to be a student's artwork or a student's piece. And the way we kind of like came to this whole signature hit where it's a clear poly label that's like sewn on the bottom like left rib cage. And when you see that from different angles, you know there's going to be a student garment right away. And so like our perspective of that, kind of going to like this really competitive world of golf wear, like we knew that we had to like come with like different points of applications and stuff like that makes it unique, you know. So that was like the hardest part. And once we had established that, like, dude, it's been super fun just coming with ideas and concepts for it, you know. Sometimes like Bryan tells me like, yo, like chill out. You don't got to design like 30 designs a season, bud. Like just come up with 5 strong ones and hold all your ammo for the next collection, man. Like it's not end all this season, dude. Like there's a lot more life left for us to do this. And so like, don't just give it all right now. Like just chill out, you know? And so in my phone, I have this notepad of like just ideas and word plays of things that just resonates with me as I'm driving or as I'm like struggling. I'll even write down notes while I'm struggling on the golf course. I'll play like a big money game with some friends and I'm struggling. And I'm like, you know what? That's a really good idea. Let's punch this into my phone real quick. And next, you know, I go home the next day. Or the next day, I would just jump on my computer and just get inspired by that one moment. And that's where a lot of my inspirations come from, you know, of just how you feel and what the game does to you, like emotionally, spiritually, humility. There's all that stuff, those nuances that I've always like pondered, like how can I take, the hardest part is like, how do I take these emotions and then sprinkle into like an application of a T-shirt or a sweater or a garment, you know?
That's what I had a really big question when it came to the process, because the depth of T-shirts is also something that stood out to me, even just from like a design standpoint. Like it's very intricate and very detailed, like again, super intentional. And it's not, I talk about this a lot, but like it feels more human, like hand drawn, if you will. What is like your filtering process look like when it comes to, like you said, you have a notepad of ideas? Like how are you filtering through what actually gets executed? Is there any heat checks along the way?
My heat check is this guy here. Like he'll tell me if it's black or not. But to be honest with you, like because of like with the way I go about my process has always been like pencil to paper and then from paper to computer. I think the idea these days with like AI and all these, you know, available tools that are inside Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, it's like anybody can replicate that, right? But it's really hard to replicate like details through like penmanship or replicate ideas through like sketching something that adds more noise and adds more shading details than what a computer does, right? And so a lot of my ideas are actually like pen to paper and then from paper to, and then I scan it in, or I just take a picture off my iPhone and then transfer it to my computer. And so there's a lot of ways how I can like go about my process, stuff like that. But essentially where it starts off with first is just like what's my subject, right? What's my emotion, and how am I displaying this emotion, right? For example, like one of our designs called Bunker Hell, right? I've never played a bunker like this before, and it was the bunker on hole number 14 at PGA West Stadium course, where like it's that massive like 40 feet tall bunker. I'm like looking up and I'm envisioning like someone just sitting on top of that edge, just laughing at me that I can't get off of it. Bunker, right? And so that's Bunker Hell to me. And so instantly I just wrote down, like I literally put down my golf club, pop on my phone and start writing Bunker Hell. And then I put it back in my pocket and then I hit a shot and I get it out. Right? Like it's those moments that I visualize. I'm like, okay, the subject matter is a wedgician. What the hell is a wedgician? it's a wizard, it's a guy that's like really crafty with his hands? Could there be some, like, because of naturally, like, we're in arts, do we add some stars? Naturally, because we're like scholastic, do we add like him holding like two pencils, like you know, like things like that? Like, it's just like, how do I encapsulate all my ideas into that format? It starts with a pencil and a vision first, you know. So
we do have a small internal team that we'll share ideas with, and we trust everybody's judgment. And the cool thing is like everybody checks their ego at the door, to where like there's no one single person that gets to ride with their idea. Like, it is a collective, and we'll bounce it off of everybody saying yes, no, maybe so, and that's how we narrow it down. Because this brain right here has got
I don't got all the good ideas too,
endless ideas in it. Yeah. So.
But you know, like, again, like what Bryan said, we do have a really cool team. Mark Cuevas, Padron Smoker, like Ube, Sean Marr, Cam, this guy, JP, the whole squad. Like, we have a Slack channel now that we just like throw ideas on there, and we literally check our ego at the door, and we just like have like an open form of just dialogue. Like, guys, I'm feeling about this design. What do you guys think? And like everyone would just have their point of views to things and stuff like that, you know. But naturally, we try to design it for us, but like for whatever reason, like people gravitate towards it as well too, you know. So which is pretty rad. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in business. We wouldn't be able to sell e-commerce, you know. So
yeah, I mean, to that point, like, is there a specific garment or even piece that has existed in any of the collections that you think is the best definition of what Students is?
For me, like, I don't see that one single garment. I feel that like we get better with each collection, and we get stronger with each collection, and our vision becomes more clear of what we want to put out. And like the feedback that we're getting, both from like sell through on a retail level to new accounts coming to the table, be it like Nordstrom, Revolve, like those sorts of accounts now are coming to us saying like, hey, we want to mess with you guys. Like, that's just incredible that like not only are we on their radar, but like they want to bring our brand in. That's great. So like, I don't even want to single out one certain piece. It's just like, wait until next season, because the thing I'm going to tell you about now is it's going to get trumped by next season. So yeah.
No, that makes sense. That's the text messages I was having with Michael this morning about just like, I feel like every collection that comes out is a stronger identity of like what we always had in our mind that can exist within the space. And there's so much flexibility too. Like, do you think what has been like really, I guess, surprising in terms of either a collection or a product line that internally you guys got interesting feedback from, or from the industry? Like you said, there's a lot of retailers that are coming and knocking on the door. Like, what have been some like interesting feedback notes or any surprises in terms of product lines?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy. Like, the complaint would be, why aren't you guys making golf appropriate apparel, right? And I like I said before, like it's very intentional how we came out the gates. Like, we really wanted to like spend a lot of time on establishing our story, establishing our brand, establishing our DNA, establishing our roots, and kind of like where the brand's inspirations from. You know, we knew that we definitely had to put like the golf apparel on the back burner a little bit, because I mean, golf brands these days are a dime a dozen, right? If you come out and golf apparel is so clean, if you just take off the logo, right? Like, what is it? It's a piece of garment that can be applicable to like any brand, right? And so for us, it's about identity, and how do you build identity is through storytelling first. And so we're like, you know what? Let's just bite our tongue, right? We know we want to be able to work with all the cool retailers of golf in that space for a long time until we actually establish our roots. But that was intent. That intent was like, let's just spend these next few years on storytelling first. And he agreed to it. It's like, you know what? That's an awesome point of view. And so now that we have established our story with like what our sensibilities are, from our photography, from our visuals, and from the nostalgicness of things that we do with the brand, now like the feedback is like, when the hell is Students going to be making golf appropriate clothing, right? And so what people don't know is that we've been working on this golf apparel collection for years, right? And we've been fine tuning it, making sure like we're truly happy with it, right? Like, for example, our first stab at making a golf pant, right? Our version, our lens. Like, for example, we didn't have a silicone print on the inside waistband, right? So we came to the market to show our golf pant to like a really cool retailer, and the feedback was like, you're missing some details that are very imperative to a golf pant. We're like, dude, it's got pockets, it's got zippers, it's got coin pockets, it's got a little pocket, it's got like all these cool amenities, but it's like fundamentally you're missing that one item, and we just couldn't figure out what it was until we tucked our polo shirt into the pant and it starts slipping out. We're like, oh, duh, we need a freaking silicone print on the inside so that there's abrasion with the polo, with the inner waistband of the pants, so it won't slip out. So things like that, like we just had to make sure like we're so meticulous within our craft of understanding each garment fully before we are like proudly able to put out that garment, right? For example, another thing is like, say example, like, you know, to sell proper golf clothes in these like so-called like clubs and green grass stores, your logo placement is also very, very important. If you put it on the left chest as your main real estate, well, where's the club going to embroider the logo on? On the other side? Like, no. They want theirs on like the prime location of where you know it is at, right? So you got to move your logo to somewhere else. So where do you move your logo somewhere else that still encapsulates your brand DNA and your like where you want to like really market your brand? It's going to be the right logo now. It's going to be the right sleeve, left sleeve, or back hit, like where it's going to be. So we spent the last few years kind of refining those details and tools now, and you know, and naturally, you know, like we're coming out with a collection called Core Studies, and it's the idea of like making golf appropriate clothing and then really the intent is to speak about range, right? Like we know that, you know, not everybody's going to get down and get into our brand messaging and DNA. For one, the fitting is a little bit weird in terms of our t-shirt, it's a little blockier, it's not your traditional fit, or our pants a little bit baggier, and like they love the vibe, they love the feel, but they're just not really there yet. And so the idea with Core Studies, it's a little bit more minimalism. It's definitely like crafted really high quality out of a really sick factory out of Korea, as well as a factory out of Cambodia that makes literally the best brands in the world. We've been working with them on fabrications, working with like 3M Scotch Guard stuff, like you name it, like tape seals, tape seams, tape zippers, all that stuff. Like everything that you would, like, I think you would expect for us to come out of the gates with golf apparel, like you can envision it, right? And the idea is that we know that there's like, you know, there's guys that are minimalist, guys that are traditionalists, and guys that are also like that love the brand. And the idea is for us to kind of like offer them this really clean palette of palatable garment for them to kind of get into, so that we can all kind of like move them towards like kind of like give them a little nudge for them kind of get more involved with our brand and what we represent, to hopefully grasp what you call like a wider audience, right? And to dissolve the continuing question of like, when is students gonna make golf appropriate stuff, right? So that's been kind of like the joke of town for a little bit. And like, although you guys are a golf brand, but like there's nothing golfable in your clothes, you know? I'm like, well, because you know it as a polo and as a belt and as a clean pair of pants. That's what you know it as. But for us is that we can go out to a Muni on a Thursday at 4 p.m. and still play around in t-shirts and shorts and whatever we feel comfortable with, you know, and a bunch of guys would meet up and play. And so that's kind of like where we're heading with this Core Studies collection, you know? So it's pretty exciting.
And I think
100%.
Just to add on to what Michael said, like when you had Ben on the pod a couple shows ago, he brought up the term being chameleonic, I think is what he said.
He's a poet.
Yeah, it's. I didn't even know it was a word, but I'm using it. Yeah, like it's so true, and like through our brand language of students, like we look at it between Core Studies and our mainline collection. It's almost like first day of school. Like when you're going and you're like, dude, I'm putting out like the flyest fit that I have, and you're excited to wear it because like all your homies are there and you're there to like show out type thing. And then like if you're that Muni kid, like that's your thing, right? And you're like, cool, I can get away with it. How far can I push the boundaries? And then you get the call to go play the country club. That's kind of like if you're transferring schools, right? You're like, you go over there, you're like, I don't know what I'm going into, like what the vibe is over there, so I'm gonna play it safe type thing. And like hopefully you take like the minimalistic parts of course studies and through like layering and own personal style and what shoes you wear with the trousers or shorts type thing. Like that's how we're gonna lean on like our community of like how they're styling things, which naturally I think will be a little bit different than like the average Joe.
Mm-hmm. Which is important because I think when you guys are going through this process of building collections, what are you guys always trusting your gut on every time, knowing that there's a ton of noise happening in the space? You are up against buyers and green gas accounts that, in a way, I've talked about this before on the pod, like is the industry's biggest influence that nobody talks about. You, at the end of the day, you have to get your product bought in by buyers that is designed to a specific standard to get in green grass accounts in retailers. That's why a lot of the stuff looks somewhat similar, because everybody is building within the same sandbox. But what do you guys trust your gut on throughout the process, knowing that things are going to be bangers when they get executed the right way?
I think if we stay true to kind of like, the unique thing that like before we came into space, like we had to think of a name that would like resonate with people, right? And I think to me is like things that connect to us the most is like kind of like in our younger yesteryears of us being like young as a kid growing up, right? Those are things that we're emotional about because those things like you can't kind of like you can't like you gotta like it's like I feel like you feel like you can like trace back to, you know, and the name students is like it's like it brings you back to those years, you know, and actually like what that does for us is like as long as we lash ourselves into like things, the topics and subjects that are like retained towards like scholastic or you know going to school, learning all that stuff. Like as long as we kind of like utilize that as like kind of overarching topics and subject and the matter, like I feel like that's where we'll always like have a point of differentiation, you know, because you're right, like to some extent, like a polo, how many more ideas and applications and can you do to a polo before it's like over designed? And so like you're kind of limited, right? So in the day, like what makes that polo unique? Is it the fit? It's the specs and materials? Well, great, we are going to offer that, but in the day for us is like what's important is like our identity. Like why is that buyer buying into students? They're basically buying into that logo. They're buying into what our brand and what we resonate to and what our brand stands for, right? And so you know the fun part about students, like what we can do is so wide, right? It's like the range is so wide because like as long as you touch topics like everyone goes to school and everyone has gone through the same like similar upbringing and all that stuff through school and the struggles of getting A's and all that stuff, like there's like so many like topics of like that retain towards like academics that we can apply towards the game to the game of golf. And I think it allows for us to like really utilize like certain words and certain play where it makes sense for us as a brand. But if you are say an XYZ brand and you don't talk about school ever, and all of a sudden you put learning, like what the hell? Why does that word learning on a polo make sense? Like why am I buying into that? But the fact that it's students and it says learning, that makes that polo way different from any other polo that's currently in the marketplace for us, you know? And I think that's kind of like our point of differentiation when we go to retailers and, you know, it's like instantly they can feel our brand DNA right away. And how we do that is the first few pages of our catalog would actually have like visuals and imagery that speaks about the whole season collection inspiration before they even see the product. So instantly, it just like dot connects them, and that's what we just hope for. Is like, I think over time, like I think our brand would be a lot more recognized within space as we put out more topics that retain towards our brand DNA, you know. So,
and I would say like on top of that too, another thing that you guys have always done really well is the lookbooks. Like that yes, a polo can only have like a certain look so many different times, but the way that you guys style stuff is also really interesting. It helps, again, connect the dots between the vision you guys have and the narrative that you're trying to articulate in the space through like visual identities. And again, there are these guidelines that haven't existed beyond just like product description pages. Like what goes into your guys' mindset when it comes to creating like memorable visual guides through like lookbooks and whatnot?
I mean, for example, like 2024 was when we did, summer 2023 was when we did that school scholastic like yearbook photo.
Spring 24.
Spring 24.
Yeah.
For example, like, like, I mean, I haven't seen a lookbook like that gets done, and naturally because of just the branding students, like we got inspired by that nostalgic, like laser beam, like neon red, blue shooting in the background, and like we did a lookbook behind that, and that instantly just like that's like our inspiration, and so I don't know, I just feel like we a lot of us, at least the guys on my team, like we always talk about like memories and stuff like that, right? Whether it be growing up a certain way, whatever it is, like we're all inspired by that, and like I know this is like maybe a little bit far, but like how like Asian people would like take family photos would be like way different from like someone else would be taking photos, It's like why is the mom and dad always in the center and the kids are standing up like around surrounding them? Why is everybody like pose a certain way, whatever it is, right? Like we always like, like what'd be funny if we like add that into like into like a lookbook, like and like naturally we just get drawn to like yesteryears, and that's been always been like something that we always fall back on, and that's been a kind of the process of like, all right, how do we, for every lookbook that we do, how do we get people to fully understand like what student really represents, right? Other than the fact that it's the name student like puts us in a certain genre, but like how do we utilize this advantage that we have with their name and stuff that resonates with us as we grow in the sport, or
Yeah, and I think just like the whole student's ethos it's just relatable to everybody, right? Like everybody, depending on your age, you've either spent half of your life, a third of your life, if you're older, whatever, like in school, right? So it's so much of like your own personal foundation of making you. So like everybody will find something that they can tie to what we're doing, or at least what we're hoping to do is get someone to tie to like what we're doing. Like, oh, I remember that, or oh shit, that's right. Like I remember those school photos, or I remember the gymnasium, like pep rally days, whatever, and then implementing like swing aids and like little things like that kind of tie in like the golf narrative to it, but still keeps us very much ourselves.
The photo that I always go back to is like my personal like belief that represents the brand really well from like a lookbook perspective was, I want to say it was the honor roll, like the collection 13, where the kid had the green pant, the long sleeve green like V-neck pop shirt. He had that black hat on, and his hair, like long curly hair, he had bleached like highlights on the bottom, like that. He was holding like 3 or 4 textbooks. Like I always felt like that. It was clean. It still was something that you could golf in. It spoke to students. It was really unique. He wasn't staring at the camera. Like it just felt, that was like the first time. And I maybe even made a video about it. Like this is the version of students that I've been trying to articulate for the last 2 to 3 years or whatever at that point.
I mean, Ray, you know why we did that? We did it because we were just struggling with ideas of like, how is this a golf brand? Like, I just don't understand. Like, how is this a golf brand? And so we naturally had to like, like Mark, like who I work very closely with, Mark, you guys may know him as Padron Smoker. Him and I were like, dude, like, Mike, you gotta like put together some looks where like people can actually golf in, dude. It's like yes, like our garments aren't naturally golf, but like you can close your eyes and like put together some fits where it's actually appropriate for golf. And so we did some vest looks and we threw in some t-shirt looks, and like I mean, is that a hack? Like, because the fact that you're wearing a t-shirt and you put it on a sweater vest, does that make it appropriate now? Be like, I don't know.
Depends on where you are. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, does that, like, for example, like this is what I do a lot of times, but like if I don't feel like wearing a polo to a country club, I'll wear a t-shirt and I'll throw on a sweater. Like, who's gonna argue that I don't have a collar shirt and just tuck underneath my collarbone because my neck's kind of big, whatever it is, you know? Like what are you gonna like make me take off my sweater so you see a polo shirt underneath or not? You know, like, so like naturally, like we just had to put together some looks that like resonate with golf somehow, so that people can see the vision somehow, right? Because like we just have so many layers to the brand, right? And it's like it's simple, but it's not, because like we understand golf so much. We're like nerds about the game, and we know little nuanced things that you could do and could get away with on a golf course. So when you saw that lookbook and it probably resonated with you, like, oh shit, this is probably your first time seeing a somewhat of a golf appropriate outfit that you can see yourself wearing on a golf course. You know what I mean? Because, you know, we came out the gates with so many damn t-shirts, and like, how is this a golf brand? And so when we had our first stab at making garments, we're like, dude, I don't want to make golf clothes, dude. We gotta I want to make more lifestyle stuff to further, you know, continue to storytell like what our brand really like really represents. And so when we had our first chance of like putting together this first golf outfit, Mark was like, "This is it, dude. This is at least this is the closest." And like this is like kind of moving the needle like forward as the lookbooks continue to move on, you know. So
no, I love them, and I think it always stirs the pot just enough where I think it's still really important to get feedback of what's happening, like what people are interested in the industry, and then just to see the dialogue that happens in the comments is always really interesting too. Just to see, like, to your point, what's actually right and wrong. What'd you say?
To be honest, like kind of like jumping in where you say stir the pot a little bit, like, to be honest with you, like that's where like I did stir the pot a little bit at my country club, right? I truly did, and like the inspiration did come from me with the struggle of like trying to find ways how I wasn't against the idea of wearing polos at all. I love polos. I had a ton of Stone Island ones. I have a lot of like Arc'teryx one. Like I have a lot, right? But like there's some days where I don't want to wear a polo, and how do I get around that? And so there's one time where like, you know, I basically wore a mock neck t-shirt, right? And then I put on I felt what t-shirt it was. A Phil Jackson vintage basketball t-shirt over my mock neck. It was tucked in. It was tucked in my slacks, right? I wore these slacks, slightly high watered a little bit, whatever it is, but I was wearing FootJoy, and I was showing my socks a little bit, whatever. This is like circa maybe like 8 years ago, right? I mean, they said that the club said that you needed a collar shirt, and a collar shirt could be represented as a mock neck or as just a traditional collar. Instead, so I wore a mock neck so that I'm able to wear, like, I thought by putting over a t-shirt over the mock neck, now it's golf appropriate. So I wore that to the golf course, and I got sent home. And I was like, what?
Before you even got onto the course? Is this in the clubhouse?
I was on the first tee box and sent me home. They go, Mike, you got to go home and change. I'm like, no, I'm not changing. What's wrong with what I'm wearing right now? Okay, would it be any different if my mock neck actually had the Phil Jackson printed on it?
Maybe.
Interesting.
I mean,
but why? It's like you're telling me. Okay, so what if I were to redesign the template of a mock neck, right? And a mock neck looked like it had like a double collar, and it looked like it was a t-shirt and a high raised collar. Isn't that the same shit? To be like, frankly speaking, right? And so like I challenged this canvas of what they deem as a true collar shirt was, and I got sent home. I'm like, okay, so if I were to wear a mock neck t-shirt and I had a bunch of school books printed on it, would that be okay? They go, yeah. Okay, so what if my t-shirt also had school books on it and I wore it over my mock neck? Would it be okay? And they're like, you know? So yeah, like I understand, like after that day, right? I understand, like, you know what? There are a lot of grounds to be made, and unfortunately, Michael, the whole industry is just not ready for all your ideas yet. Let's just strip it back a little bit. Let's be appreciative of tradition. Let's be appreciative of the culture. Let's be respectful, and like that also taught me along the way that once we're ready to do golf appropriate clothing, let's do it right. Like let's not try to challenge this whole status quo and like try to change the industry too much. Like this, like just be a traditionalist, but also be an experimentalist at the same time too, and without pushing the boundaries too far, right? And after that day, I just like understood that was what needed to be done, and so I scaled myself back, and so now like I'm hoping the next year, like few more years, like all of us are gonna eventually somehow like move the needle a little bit, so they can be a little bit more open-minded when it comes to what garments are deemed appropriate for the golf course, So,
but that goes back to when we first started, the intent of having more of a lifestyle play that allows us to be experimental with a lot of garments that hopefully will find its way to intersect with the core study stuff. Like, why is it that people aren't wearing mohair sweaters on the golf course? Like
Arnold Palmer did back in the days,
If you wind back the clock and you look at like golf fashion and how it's evolved over the decades, there's always someone that's pushing the boundary of what the new norm is going to be. And when they first come to the table, everyone's like, no way. I mean, even
cotton to polyester now.
Sure. Or like you could look at like loudmouth golf, for instance, when they were making those wild ass pants, like, dude, the golf community probably laughed at them and said, absolutely not. That'll never work. And now like every beer drinking, cigarette smoking dude in their 50s that, loves John Daly and loves Larry the Cable Guy, like probably has 3 or 4 garments in their closet that's loudmouth golf, and it's a multi-million-dollar business, and good for them for, like being willing to push that boundary and getting through it. And now they are where they are and they have their place at the table, and it's great, and like we're kind of just doing the same thing. And hopefully, as golf gets younger, because like ultimately like us and the brands in our ecosystem are like trying to make golf cool. Like it's been popular and unpopular, but I don't know when it's actually been cool. Like now we're bringing elements of cool through the subcultures that we're all into. I think naturally that brings a younger demographic into the game, which always helps make change, is like the youth, and they're the ones that have been neglected for so long. So we're in a good place.
No, 100%. And I think like designing against those hurdles, like you guys are obviously the ones that are putting in 99% of the work. You're trying to figure out when and where the approvals will happen. And so at least you're putting the work in, like you said, move the needle and keep the conversation going to the point where it does become the new standard, and the reality of like what's happening in the industry.
What's really cool too, like on the sales side, like we just launched at Roger Dunn for us here in Santa Ana, and then we're launching West Hollywood and a few other stores, which is amazing for us for them to be looking at a brand like us and saying, we want you in store. But a lot of it is like they're looking at us for like direction of what products to put in store too, which is very refreshing. Like
Black Desert.
Yeah, Black Desert in Utah. Like they're another one that we're launching with this summer, and kind of same thing. It's like, hey man, like I don't want to see another blue polo that is crested. Like I know I can sell those. Our logo sells it. It doesn't matter what brand makes it. It's the logo that sells it. Like we want something different. Like you guys are doing something different, and that's what's refreshing to them, which just kind of lights our fire. Like, all right, cool. Like there's people out here that are in the golf space, serious people in the golf space that are looking for change, and probably seeing on their tee sheet like every day, like the golfers are just getting younger and their money's just as good as the older guy that comes, you know, and they're like, well, why aren't we leaning into them? Like they're respectful of the game and the rules and, all the stuff that we want them to be, just because they might look a little bit different in how they dress. Like it doesn't matter. Like good for them. So,
like to be honest, like, shout out to like Stephen Melvin, for like knocking out a lot of doors for like a lot of us as well too, like on the stuff that he's doing and kind of breaking culture and kind of like helping us move the needle, like with like kind of like, I mean, accidentally what he did with like Jason Day, it sent shockwaves to the rest of the industry and the rest of the whole golf world, to see someone so traditional like Jason Day, like be able to like pull that off, it makes them tinker, and not everybody's gonna be on board,
Mm-hmm.
Whoever set this whole standard of like golf apparel, like has made like a huge like dent on it to make everyone think that a golf polo and a golf pant and golf shorts and with a belt is deemed like the it outfit to be golfing in. Who's to say
Mm-hmm.
that hey, you're gonna swing better in a golf polo, right? Like, but understanding that all like there are some rules and some like some limitations and some hurdles you gotta understand, but like just like do enough where like hopefully over time like it gets like widely like receptive,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Steven's plays and he does a really good job and kind of teeter-tottering with that back and forth, and that has like knocked down a lot of doors for like a lot of us, so shout out to Steven.
To that point, like, have you guys noticed a trend either over this last year or just recently from a buyer's perspective, like what they're asking for? Is it color stories? Is it specific garments? Is it, hey, consumers are looking for this specifically?
Yeah, like it's not necessarily for anything specific. Like they're just looking to us to be authentically ourselves. Like, hey, you guys are bringing something to the table that's new and fresh. And as long as like we're not trying to conform too much into like uh, what everybody else is doing, like that's
Yep.
kind of our secret sauce, because you can get so caught up in the game of like letting those buyers dictate what you design, and then you lose your brand identity in doing that. So thankfully, like we don't have the big retailers right now that are really strong arming us into trying to do too many different things. There's, there's definitely compromise, that does exist, and we'll hash all that stuff out like at the design level of like, hey, we got to make sure that like this isn't too baggy,
Yeah.
or like, all right, like this, this waist needs to have belt loops, even though it's elastic. Like, let's throw some belt loops over the top to make sure that
Yep.
if required, like you're good. Where we might just want to throw in like the nylon web belt and like call it a day because we think Gramici makes a really good short that we love, and we're going to make our version of it. So yeah, there's compromise that exists, but ultimately it's like they're kind of looking at us as like, hey, you guys are doing something new, like keep doing what you're doing. And there's definitely some swings and misses every season, and a lot of this we think like like this is it, like it is not it, and then other ones were, I don't know about that, and it's like, did you guys have another 100 of them, we'll sell them, so whoa, yeah, so like really you never know. But it's great that like we aren't being strong armed right now into like, you guys need to make this and make that. Getting into like the core studies side of things, like that might change, because on the lifestyle side, like that is that's the world that we know.
We do whatever we want.
And really it's like the retailers that we sell to, a lot of them are our friends and they trust what we're doing, and we don't have to hold their hand as much into like, this is our intent behind this design. And maybe like as we get into the golf space and try to bring outside elements into it, like that's where people are very programmed into thinking like, this is what golf looks like and this is what a golfer should look like. But thankfully, like our first handful of actual golf accounts that are outside of like the specialty world, like we're not talking like the Divot store in Japan and Pluto, St. Andrews, and like those are the ones that come from our world, and they're making specialty golf retail, which is incredible, but they're very few and far between. Yeah, those bigger golf retailers, like they're kind of the same. Of like, hey man, you guys are doing something new and refreshing, and like we want to dip our toe into that water, and like you guys kind of guide us into what you think your customer would be looking for, and we'll go from there.
There's a lot of people out there that love our brand and love the look of our brand, but once they put it onto themselves, they feel a little bit like they're not ready yet, right? And so of course that's designed to make them feel utmost, most comfortable, and hopefully we can nudge them along this line to kind of further, get to start wearing every single one of our garments. We don't expect everybody to like love every single piece that they get into. It's some of it is like a little bit far fetched to the golf world still. There's like
Mm-hmm.
people like us that understand it is far and few. Like we're barely a percentage compared to the rest of the golf world. But hopefully over time with everything that's happening right now, people will start to eventually identify that, and a lot of things that we do, a lot of things that everyone else does in the golf space will be so-called like acceptable. Even
Yep.
brands like it's so dope to see like everybody's own version of it. With like what Steven does with with Melbourne Golf, and what Cole does with like Metalwood, and what
Mm-hmm.
what Chris does with or like even like Jane Golf, like what they bring to the table is freaking cool. They're focusing on this whole like youth culture that no other golf brands can do. And or even guys like Karsten out of like Gumtree, his
Mm-hmm.
perspective of like New York outdoor golf, and it's so
Yep.
dope that everyone has their own perspective of it, right? And this is something we have not seen in the golf world in a very long time. It's very hard to identify what a traditional golf brand's culture is, right? It's like it's very hard to identify it. I don't want to name any names, but the idea is like when you look at a certain brand, and like what culture are you latching onto? Is it Southern California? Are you doing like automotive? Are you into like racing?
Mm-hmm.
Are you into like workwear? What is it, right? It's really hard to identify that, and so naturally we just like didn't want to be stuck in that, and have people always question us like, what are you guys? And so we spent a lot of time on just building our brand through storytelling through our lens, and naturally it
Mm-hmm.
just became it's like it's an art project. It's a love letter. Like I
Yep.
say it all the time. I say students is a love letter and assignment to golf, and like it's like a really clean interpretation of it. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're always writing to golf every single day without even knowing it. Where it's an assignment that's testing us and educating us like along the way. Like we're always learning. So
True students. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, in the theme of newness, I already said it, but like when people see the core study stuff, I think they're going to legitimately freak out in like the best possible way, especially if anybody has the same interests I do when it comes to just like sportswear and athleisure or whatnot. I think it is a crazy collection. But yeah, I wanted to do a new segment. It's basically called the secret menu, which is where we just
Ooh.
share like a recent pickup we're obsessed with or something that is on our radar that maybe we haven't gotten in hand that we can't stop thinking about. The one for me is actually the mohair crew neck sweater. So I picked that up in the yellow. I think it actually gets here tomorrow. So I'm like itching to get that on. I think golf in general needs more yellow. I know Hideki, he's like kind of taken on yellow. His Sunday yellow has shown up over the last couple of years, which is cool. But what is something that you guys have either picked up recently or is on your radar that you guys have been obsessed over?
Gosh, for me, I'll be honest. Like from the apparel perspective, like, dude, I got a closet full of Stussy stuff, full of Undefeated stuff, full of student stuff. And I haven't even picked up anything new. I'm in like baby zone. I'm thinking of like this baby Brezza thing that I got. Like I got twins coming in like 3 weeks. That like the thing like it cleans the bottles, it heats the bottles, it does everything for you that we didn't have the first time around with our daughter. So like that's the thing that I'm geeking out on. I know it doesn't answer your question, but like that's literally the first thing that pops in my mind. I'm like, yo, like we got
That
this.
that speaks to my heart. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, word. Yeah. But like one of my favorites, just like you, it's that striped mohair piece is so incredible and it looks so good on like everybody that wears it. It looks good on them, and a lot of people too that like them wearing a piece like that. It might go a little bit out of their comfort zone, but it only takes one or two compliments for them to
Yep.
get confident in it, and then it's like game on, dude. And now
Mm-hmm.
it's like we've kind of done our job of introducing like cool garments to people that like maybe they wouldn't wear otherwise, and now it's giving them like some new confidence in how to like grow their own personal style. And it's like, okay, now
Yep.
I I can take a little bit more risks in like some of the things that you guys are making. So like going all the way back where you ask like where the wins are in the brand, like for me, like when I see just someone wearing Students in the wild is always the best feeling for me, where I'm like,
I bet.
okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
At least someone likes our idea.
Yeah, right. But then also like seeing someone that like naturally they wouldn't wear a certain piece, and like watching them get the confidence in wearing it, and like them just being so hyped on like, dude, like we did the mohair cardigan, like we did the green one and the yellow one. And I got a buddy, my buddy Craig, shout out Craig. He rocks the yellow one all the time. He's like, bro, I get compliments on this every time I wear it. And it's not
Love that.
a piece that you would normally see him wearing, but like now that's a shit. And it's like, dude, that's so sick that like he's busted down some doors in like his own personal style. And like, I feel like that's a win for us too. It's like, okay, cool. Like not only are we growing, other people are growing with us. And it's just, it's always a cool moment.
I mean, Ray, for me, I mean, dude, like, I'm just looking, like, after it came back from, like, the PJ show with Bryan, like, 2 years ago, we're like, dude, how many more freaking polos do we need? Like, dude, like, everybody has done every interpretation of it as much as possible. And so we actually have to find ways how we can, like, so-called offer, like, a collar shirt, right? And so, like, what I'm, like, really obsessive over right now, and I'm still continuing to explore and learn. And like I've like luckily I come from a background of apparel with my mom being in the industry for a long time, and knitting has always been her thing, and naturally drawn to knitting. Like with sweaters, it's such like, to me, I feel like knit sweaters are like in a way craftier. It allows for a lot more room for you to do some really cool stuff with it, right? Down to the weave of the jacquard, to the thickness of the cable, to different, fibers, whether it be mohair, cotton, acrylic wool, whatever. Like so many different patterns that you can jacquard in and makes it unique. And the thing is like, that's kind of like our advantage right now is like we actually have a really cool dedicated factory that makes all our sweaters, and they can literally anything. Like you name a certain weave or a certain pattern, they'll nail it down, right? And that's like our polo right now is like through our sweaters. We'll make like sweater polos, sweater cardigans, mock neck sweaters, whatever. Like that's kind of like our thing. And if it comes down to the summertime, then we'll just make a short sleeve and make it in a thinner gauge, and it works, right? And I think to me, there's a lot of room in that world. I welcome anybody that wants to give it a shot. It's a space, it's a category I feel like a lot of people need to explore. But like we are going so hard in it right now, and I think that's like to me, I feel like that's our best representation of a category that a lot of people aren't really working on that we can actually dominate in, and it's so fun for me, like because like I'll go vintage shopping and I see like a certain weave of this sweaters that will like fall apart with like holes everywhere, but I still find it beautiful because I'm looking at the gauge and the weave and how it's crisscrossing with like lumps and bumps and like it's just like so dope. Like what if we had that and but reinterpret it in our own lens, add like some sort of jacquard artwork into the mix of that, and that's like uniquely ours. And also like right now I'm like really obsessive with like sweaters, so naturally if you look at our website a little bit more, like you'll see a lot of sweaters on there, and it's a category that we like to call it like really like our own, so.
No, I love that. Yeah, the expansion of the knitwear stuff has been really good, especially from like just color palette, the way things lay. I think you guys talk about it a lot, but like layering is also a major unlock. It's harder for where you guys are located, but someone like me in the fall and even spring right now, this is my favorite time to like try and figure out and introduce new pieces because the weather is warm enough, but it's still cool enough, depending on when you go out and play, that you can really get crafty with things.
People don't realize it, but sweaters are actually really breathable, depending on the gauge. I would wear like my long sleeve, like mock neck, like quarter zip sweater to like a country club, and people are like, "Aren't you sweating in that?" I'm like, "Dude, I feel great."
Great,
I played it at Lakeside, and I'm like, and Malta was like, dude, like that thing looks really hot on you, bro. Like, why don't you take it off? Well, for one, I have a t-shirt underneath. You might get kicked out. And
Kicked
then
out
two,
another country club.
I feel completely comfortable in this. Like it breathes well. Like I'm totally fine, you know. And people forget, like, you got to try new things, like to fully understand it, you know.
Well, and we're not trying to break the course record every time we go out and play golf too. It's just sometimes we're out there just to chill and hang out.
Yeah.
The last question that I ask everybody on the way out, Bryan, I'll have you go first, but it is, what's the story behind the one item in your closet you'll never get rid of? And what's that mean to you?
Are we talking golf or just in general?
Anything.
Okay.
Wow.
From a golf perspective, so I have a visor, an Imperial visor, that I got from the quarry out in La Quinta. Shout out Dom Reyna from Meadowood. He and I went out there and played it. Super exclusive, like incredible golf course. And we had such an amazing day, and I played really well. And like, that's like, it's my gamer piece. If you see me showing up wearing that white visor, like that means
Don't
it's
play,
like,
brother.
it's game on,
It's
dude.
not a money day.
Bogeys if I have to. Like, I'm here to take your money and everybody's money around me. So like, that's the one piece. Like, it was such a cool experience, and like, I'll never get rid of that. But from just everyday clothing, like, I mean, honestly, it's probably a Stussy tribe jacket that I got back in like 2006 or something like that, you know, like, just super ill. I'll never get rid of it. I don't even really wear it anymore. It doesn't fit me the way it should, dude. I put on some,
it's a part of the archives,
like way older, but I still look at it and it brings back memories, you know, of like being there in the mix and like the beginning of streetwear and like all of that stuff. So like, that's really cool and memorable to me. Yeah.
What about you, Michael?
Man, for me, I mean, being in the clothing industry is very hard to like grasp on like on a garment that like resonates with you so much. Like for me, like, I guess instead of like a piece, like, I guess I have like more like a kind of like a bittersweet like a piece that was kind of given to me. My first few weeks of joining my country club,
Phil Jackson tee.
No,
Phil Jackson
no,
tee, dude.
come on, dude. Well, maybe that might have like sparked why like Studios exist to this day. But like my first few weeks of like joining my country club, like, I kept on getting swiped, dude. I kept on losing money left and right. I couldn't make a putt. I'm like, why are these greens like rolling at a 13? Like, what the fuck is a 13 anyway? You know, we play the munis. They're running at 8s and 9s all day. Like, what the heck?
8s and 9s.
You know, and I'm like losing money through putting. Like, I'm like looking at myself. I'm like, bro, the shorter you are to the ground, like, you're supposed to putt better, and I'm not putting better, and it freaking sucks. I keep losing money through putting. I'm like, no matter how much time I spend, I just sucked. And then one day, the guy that I kept losing money to was like, Michael, I'm gonna give you this putter, and it's gonna change the way you putt. I'm like, bullshit. Like, you want me to putt worse so you can win more money from me? So he gave me this. He gave me the Odyssey 2 ball. He's like, Michael, go practice on this 2 Odyssey ball, right? It's gonna train you to putt better. And next you know, I started winning a lot of money, and along the way, like, I started like winning. When I say win, like I'm still trying to trail back from what my losses are, but I'm still winning money back. And then along the way, this guy that gave me the putter actually wanted the putter back. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not giving you this putter back. Good luck to me. Hell no, you ain't getting it back, because it's the only way for me to get back money from you, my friend. And he goes,
once you get even with it?
I'm like, why do you want it back so much? He goes, well, my father passed away. I'm like, oh shit. Like, damn, I should give this guy the putter back. And then I gave it back to him, and then like And I'm like, you know what? I'm fine. I'll give it back to you. Like, I get it. Like, there's a story with you and your father on this putter. You can have it back. And as soon as he grabbed it, he actually said, you know what? I want you to have it. It'll mean a lot to me if you have it for whatever reason. I don't know why he still wanted me to have it. And then after that day, I just like never played with that two ball anymore. I just kept it in my closet as like a little like memory of just like of like me like meeting people like him and you know like through the course of this whole like golf journey and learning how to putt better and learning how to be a better player and learning nuances of golf and like how relationships and friendships are really important, you know, and things like that. And so I don't know. I'm looking back at it like I don't think I would ever give away this putter or sell it to anybody because it's one of those defining moments that actually like gave me this like emotion that I haven't felt in a long time, and like it's like wow, it's to me on the outside coming in the first time like it felt like it was just a sport. But it meant a whole lot more that, you know, there are feelings like this that actually exist in golf. And as I got more and more involved with it, like, and more involved with golf, I feel like this is like a really good way to learn and meet somebody and really truly know a person is taking them on a golf course. And so when I really want to like get to know someone deeply, I take them on the golf course. I want to see if they're cheating, they're counting their scores, how they're reacting under stress. Are they how are they with humiliation? Can they joke around? Like, what's their vibe? What's their energy like? And it's kind of changed my whole perspective from that one moment that I actually can find emotions in this game. And once I found that, now I'm just completely hooked. So I guess like being materialistic wise, like I think that's the putter that actually like got me like fully like immersed into the game. And now I'm like a huge ambassador of just like, hey, like I want to get more and more people into the game because it's really good for the soul. It's good for the brain. It's just, and it's one of those games where you can play as you get older, you know?
Yep.
Like I can play with Bryan till he's like 90 years old if he lives.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, and
that's the goal.
Beautiful, you know? It's so beautiful from just defining moments like that in golf, and now you're completely immersed in it, you know, through emotions.
No, I love that. Well, shoot, this has been exactly what I thought it would be. A dope conversation. I definitely want to do this again, but I guess like on the way out, is there anything like where can people find you guys? What do you guys want to shout out? Anything on the way out?
Sure. Starting, I guess we're in May now. Next month, for any of you guys that are going to Paris for Fashion Week, we'll be there. Paris Golf Gallery, shout out Works, Malo, Pierre, Michelle. The brand roster is incredible. It's growing. Ray, you've experienced it firsthand. It's totally a vibe, and it really speaks to our community and the ecosystem that we're in, which is amazing. So if you're going to be in Paris, end of next month, pull up. You could see all the new for spring summer 26. Otherwise,
love that.
golf.com. Michael?
Yeah, to me, I want to shout out to all the brands that are helping this industry move forward. I love all like golf brands that actually have a real purpose of being in the sport and having their own messaging and having their own lane and inspiration. Although we are all very, very different, know that in order for us to like really move forward, we actually have to work together, right, as a band, and support each other indirectly as well too, just so that we're able to like thrive and exist in this business. There's so much more room for love. There's so much more room for growth, and in order for us to like really get there, right, we have to work together as a band. And you know, even Steven said as well too, like he loves the brands that are around him. It challenges him, it makes him better, and it keeps him sharp, and it collectively helps open doors for brands like us that aren't as resourceful, but our ideas are resourceful, and our idea speaks a lot of words, you know. So let's just all work together and let's grow the sport through our own lens and version, and let's just crush it, you know. Let's show
no doubt.
show how we can all come from different cloths and different parts of the world, and no matter how much money we are and how much money we don't have, when we get on the golf course, it's all fair and game, love and war. So it's fun.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. It definitely takes a village. Well, shoot. Yeah, I appreciate y'all. We'll have to run this back for sure. Paris was an absolute vibe. I was just looking through old photos.
Way crazier, bro.
I bet. Everything you guys do, it just gets crazier and crazier in the best way.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you, Ray.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
All love it.
All right, that's a wrap for today's episode. If you're feeling the vibe, hit that subscribe button and drop us a quick review. It helps us keep the conversation going and growing. For more golf fashion, follow us over at Skratch and Golf Projects. We're always serving up style and stories that make this game what it is. And if you're hungry for even more, head over to Skratch.golf, where our collective stories live. Until next time, dress well and play fast. Peace.